Many people rush toward healing as if it were a finish line. They want relief, answers, change quickly. But the most important part of healing is often the part no one wants to slow down for. And when it is skipped, progress feels temporary, fragile, and exhausting. You may have noticed this already. You understand the ideas. You repeat the words. You even feel better for a while. Then the old pain returns, almost offended that it was ignored. That does not mean healing failed. It means something essential was bypassed. Healing does not begin with fixing. It begins with listening. Not to symptoms, but to the tone you use with yourself while you hurt. The body responds less to technique and more to whether it feels safe enough to release what it has been holding. This is where most people misunderstand the process. They treat healing like a task to complete instead of a relationship to rebuild. And relationships do not repair themselves through force. They repair through presence, patience, and consistency. Notice how quickly the mind asks, how long will this take? That urgency is understandable, but it often comes from fear. Fear that if you slow down, nothing will happen. Yet it is the slowing down that allows real change to occur. The part people skip is not glamorous. It does not feel productive. It is the willingness to stay with yourself without judgment, to stop correcting your feelings, to stop arguing with your experience. To let what hurts speak without interruption. When this step is ignored, healing becomes a performance. You say the right things while the body stays tense. You think positively while the nervous system remains on guard. And guarded systems do not let go, they wait. Pause for a moment and notice how you respond to your own pain. Do you rush to silence it? Do you shame it for lasting too long? Or do you allow it to exist without explanation? That response determines how deeply healing can reach. Many people believe self-love comes after healing. In truth, it is the doorway. Without it, every method feels incomplete. With it, even small shifts create lasting effects. Love tells the body it no longer has to protect itself. If this part is skipped, the same lessons return in new forms. Not because you failed, but because the message was not fully received. Healing repeats itself when it has not yet been met with kindness. The most important part of healing is allowing yourself to be where you are without punishment, without timelines, without comparison. This is what creates safety. And safety is what allows transformation to happen naturally. You do not need more effort to heal. You need a different quality of attention, one that replaces pressure with patience, one that listens before it leads. That is the part most people skip and the part that changes everything. Do not rush past this moment. What comes next only works when this foundation is in place. Stay with me, and I will show you how honoring this step reshapes the entire healing process. I want to begin by reassuring you of something very important. If healing has felt temporary for you, if relief comes and goes, if the same pain returns in new forms, it does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are human. And it means there is a part of the process that has not yet been given the time and attention it needs. Most people approach healing the way they approach problems. They want solutions. They want progress. They want evidence that they are moving forward. This is understandable. Pain is uncomfortable, and the mind wants it to stop. Yet healing does not respond well to urgency. Urgency feels like pressure. And pressure tells the body that it is not safe to relax. Healing is not a finish line you cross. It is a relationship you rebuild, and relationships do not deepen when they are rushed. They deepen when there is presence, patience, and consistency. When you rush your healing, the message your body hears is not hope. It hears rejection. It hears this is taking too long, or this should be gone by now, or you are in the way. Even when these thoughts are quiet, the body feels them. And a body that feels rejected does not let go. It protects. This is why symptoms often return after a period of improvement, not because healing failed, but because the body was never fully met. Relief came, but safety did not stay. Many people confuse understanding with listening. They read books, they learn ideas, they repeat affirmations, yet listening is something different. Listening means allowing what is present to speak without interruption, without correction, without being rushed toward an answer. The most important part of healing is not fixing what hurts. It is staying with yourself while it hurts. This is the part most people skip because it does not feel productive. It does not offer immediate results. It asks you to slow down when everything inside wants to move faster. Yet this is the step that determines whether healing will last or fade. When you rush past yourself, the body remains on guard. It learns that pain must hurry to leave or it will be rejected. So it stays alert, tense, watchful. Healing techniques may bring temporary comfort, but the underlying tension remains. I have seen this again and again. People who know all the right words, who practice diligently, who sincerely want to heal, yet they are harsh with themselves when the pain lingers. They say, I should be over this, or I have done enough work, or why is this still here? These thoughts feel reasonable, but they teach the body to stay defensive. Healing requires a different quality of attention. Not effort, but presence. Presence means you are willing to sit with yourself without needing to change anything right away. It means you are willing to feel without judging the feeling. It means you stop treating your pain like a problem and start treating it like a message. Pain does not arrive to punish you. It arrives to be heard. And when it is heard fully, it no longer needs to speak so loudly. Many people fear that if they slow down, nothing will happen. They believe movement equals progress. Yet often, movement is avoidance. Slowing down allows awareness to enter. Awareness is what transforms. I want you to notice how you respond to yourself when something hurts. Do you rush to silence it? Do you distract yourself? Do you shame it for lasting too long? Or do you allow it to exist without explanation? That response is more important than any technique you use. Successful people, those who eventually experience deep, lasting healing, often reach a moment where they stop fighting themselves. They stop asking, how do I get rid of this? And begin asking, what does this need from me? When that shift happens, healing deepens. Others notice it too. These people appear calmer, less reactive, more grounded. Not because their lives are perfect, but because they are no longer at war with their own experience. This is how the first 10 years are saved. When you stop rushing your healing, you stop repeating it. You stop cycling through relief and collapse. You stop starting over. Rushing creates the illusion of progress. Presence creates actual change. When healing is treated like a task, it becomes exhausting. When it is treated like a relationship, it becomes nourishing. Relationships require listening, not fixing. Trust grows when it is not pressured. Your body is no different. If your body has been holding something for a long time, it will not release it because you demand it to. It will release it when it feels safe enough to do so. Safety comes from being met without judgment. I want you to understand how much time is lost by skipping this step. Years are spent searching for the next method, the next insight, the next explanation, when what was needed was presence. 10 years can be lost trying to heal quickly. 20 years can pass repeating the same lessons with new faces. 30 years can go by before someone realizes they never stopped to listen. This is not said to frighten you, it is said to empower you, because the moment you stop rushing, time begins to return to you. Healing does not ask you to be strong. It asks you to be honest. Honest about how you feel. Honest about where you are. Honest about your need for kindness. When you meet yourself honestly, the body relaxes. When the body relaxes, healing accelerates naturally. You do not need to convince yourself to heal. You need to allow yourself to be where you are without punishment. That allowance is not indulgence. It is wisdom. As we continue, we will explore the inner tone that decides whether healing is allowed to stay or is pushed away again. For now, I invite you to rest in this understanding. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are simply being invited to slow down and meet yourself with the patience you have been offering everyone else. This is where healing truly begins. Now that you have allowed yourself to slow down, something very subtle comes into awareness. It is not what you are saying to yourself, it is how you are saying it. Healing responds less to words and more to tone. The body listens to tone the way a child listens to a voice. It feels before it understands. And it responds based on whether it senses kindness or pressure. Many people speak encouraging words to themselves while the tone underneath remains harsh. They say, "I am healing," but the feeling beneath the words says, "Hurry up." They say, "I love myself," while the tone carries impatience or disappointment. The body does not respond to contradiction. It responds to what feels true. Tone creates the environment in which healing either feels welcome or feels unsafe. If the tone is rushed, the body stays alert. If the tone is critical, the body stays guarded. If the tone is conditional, the body waits. Healing cannot stay in an environment where it feels evaluated. It needs permission. And permission is given through gentleness. This is why many people experience temporary relief. The words are correct, but the tone is still demanding. Relief arrives briefly, then retreats. Not because the method was wrong, but because the environment was not yet safe enough to sustain it. I want you to notice how you speak to yourself when healing feels slow. Do you encourage or do you pressure? Do you reassure or do you correct? Do you stay or do you pull away emotionally? These moments reveal the tone that matters most. The body interprets tone as instruction. A gentle tone says, "You are allowed to take your time." A harsh tone says, "You are failing." A patient tone says, "I am here." An impatient tone says, "You are on your own if this does not change soon." Healing responds to companionship, not commands. I have seen people heal more deeply simply by changing how they spoke to themselves during discomfort. They stopped trying to sound positive and began sounding kind. They allowed tenderness where there had been discipline. And the body responded by letting go of what it had been holding. Others noticed the change as well. These people appeared calmer, softer, more grounded. Not because their symptoms vanished overnight, but because they were no longer fighting themselves. That inner peace became visible. People trusted them more. Life felt less confrontational. This is how another 10 or 20 years can be saved. When you stop attacking yourself for hurting, you stop reinforcing the pain. When you stop pressuring yourself to heal, you stop teaching the body that it must stay alert. Healing accelerates when pressure is removed. Tone is often inherited. You may be speaking to yourself the way someone once spoke to you, perhaps firmly, perhaps critically, perhaps with urgency disguised as concern, recognizing this is not about blame, it is about choice. You are allowed to choose a new tone now. A loving tone does not mean you give up. It means you stop threatening yourself with abandonment if healing does not happen quickly enough. It means you stay present even when nothing changes yet. This steadiness is what allows change to deepen. I want you to imagine healing as a guest in your home. If the guest feels watched, evaluated, or rushed, it will not stay long. If the guest feels welcomed and respected, it will settle in naturally. Your inner tone determines which experience occurs. Many successful people, long before their success was visible, learned to speak to themselves with respect. When challenges appeared, they did not threaten themselves with failure. They reassured themselves. Others sensed this steadiness and responded with confidence in them. This same steadiness is what allows healing to stay. Let us speak now about encouragement. True encouragement does not push. It accompanies. It says, I am with you, not you should be further along. When you encourage yourself this way, the body relaxes its guard. It no longer needs to defend its pace. You may begin practicing a different tone now. You might say gently, it is all right to take my time, or I am here with you, or you do not have to hurry. These are not affirmations meant to convince. They are permissions meant to soothe. You may notice resistance to this tone. A voice may say, if I am too kind, nothing will change. This voice learned that pressure was necessary. You do not need to silence it. You can reassure it as well. Pressure feels productive, but it often delays what it seeks. When the tone softens, something important happens. The body begins to trust that it will not be abandoned. Trust allows release. Release allows healing to complete its work. This is why some people spend decades healing the same issue in different forms. The methods change, but the tone does not. Once the tone changes, the cycle breaks. You may notice that when you speak kindly to yourself, emotions surface, sadness, relief, even grief. This is natural. Kindness allows what was held back to move. Stay with it. Movement is healing. Others may comment that you seem different, more patient, more at ease. This is not imagination. When the inner tone shifts, presence shifts. Presence is felt. Healing is not impressed by effort. It responds to safety. Safety is communicated through tone. When tone changes, everything changes. You are not required to master this immediately. Awareness is enough. Each time you notice your tone and soften it, you strengthen the foundation of healing. Over time, this becomes natural. As we continue, we will explore what it means to stay with yourself instead of trying to fix yourself, and why presence, more than any method, is the medicine that allows healing to complete itself. For now, rest in this truth. How you speak to yourself while you heal matters more than how quickly you heal. Once the inner tone begins to soften, many people notice another habit coming into view. It is the habit of fixing. The mind is very skilled at this. When discomfort appears, it quickly asks, what should I do? Or how do I make this go away? Fixing feels responsible. It feels active. It gives the mind something to hold on to. Yet healing does not begin with fixing. It begins with staying. Staying means you do not leave yourself when something hurts. You do not rush ahead of your feelings. You do not abandon the present moment in search of a better one. You remain gently with what is here. This can feel unfamiliar because many people learned early that discomfort should be managed, corrected, or hidden as quickly as possible. Fixing often looks like strength, but it is frequently fear in disguise. It says, this should not be happening, or I must change this right now. The body hears these messages as rejection. And when the body feels rejected, it tightens. Tightness does not heal. Tightness protects. I want you to notice how quickly the urge to fix arises when something feels uncomfortable. This urge is not wrong. It developed to help you cope, but it does not need to lead anymore. Awareness allows you to pause before acting on it. Staying does not mean you enjoy the pain. It means you allow it to exist without arguing with it. You stop asking it to justify itself. You stop measuring how long it has been there. You stop comparing it to how you think you should feel by now. When you stay, something remarkable happens. The intensity often softens on its own, not because you forced it, but because it no longer needs to shout to be heard. Pain often grows louder when it feels ignored. When it feels met, it can relax. Many people fear that if they stop fixing, they will get stuck. Yet, fixing often keeps people stuck in cycles of effort and disappointment. Staying creates movement because it allows awareness to enter. Awareness is what changes the relationship to pain. I have seen people heal long-standing issues simply by changing how they responded in moments of discomfort. Instead of searching for the next solution, they placed a hand on their body and said, "I am here." This simple act communicated safety, and safety allowed release. Others noticed the change in them almost immediately. They seemed calmer, more present, less reactive. Even when challenges remained, they did not escalate. This steadiness made them appear strong in a different way, not rigid, but grounded. This is how years are saved. When you stop fixing, you stop fighting. When you stop fighting, you stop reinforcing the very tension you want to dissolve. 10 years can be lost trying to fix what only needed presence. 20 years can pass, repeating the same healing cycle with new techniques. Staying interrupts that cycle. Staying also changes how the body experiences time. When you are fixing, time feels urgent. When you are staying, time feels spacious. Healing unfolds in space, not in pressure. I want you to imagine how a child feels when they are upset and someone sits beside them without trying to change them. The child relaxes, tears slow, trust grows. This is not because the problem was solved. It is because the child was not alone. Your body responds the same way. When you stay with yourself, you are offering companionship. You are saying you do not have to carry this by yourself. That message reaches deeper than any instruction. Many successful people learned this lesson in moments of great challenge. They discovered that pushing harder only increased strain. When they learned to pause and stay with themselves, clarity returned. Decisions became wiser, effort became lighter. Others felt safer around them. Staying does not mean you never take action. It means action comes from listening instead of avoidance. When you stay long enough, you hear what is actually needed. Sometimes that is rest. Sometimes it is expression. Sometimes it is change. Fixing skips this listening. You may notice discomfort arising when you try to stay. Old habits will urge you to move, distract, or correct. This is normal. Do not judge it. Gently return. Each return strengthens the new pattern. You can practice staying in very simple ways. When discomfort arises, take a slow breath. Notice where you feel it. Place a hand there if that feels natural. And say quietly, "I am with you." These words are not meant to end the feeling. They are meant to accompany it. Over time, staying becomes easier. The urge to fix loses urgency. The body learns that it does not need to protect itself so fiercely. Healing deepens naturally. Others will sense this presence in you. They may feel calmer in your company, less hurried, less judged. This is because presence invites presence. When you stay with yourself, you can stay with others. This is another way decades are saved. When you stop fixing yourself, you stop seeing yourself as a problem. Life responds differently to someone who is not at war with themselves. Opportunities appear. Relationships soften. The future feels less threatening. You do not need to practice staying perfectly. You only need to practice returning. Each moment you notice the urge to fix and choose presence instead, you are teaching your system a new way to be. As we continue, we will explore why love must come before relief, and how self-acceptance, not improvement, is what finally allows healing to complete itself. For now, remember this: you do not need to fix yourself to be whole. You need to stay with yourself long enough to feel safe. There is a belief held quietly by many people that love is something you offer yourself after healing is finished. That Once the pain is gone, once the habit is changed, once the body feels better, then kindness will arrive. Yet this belief keeps healing just out of reach. Love is not the reward at the end of healing. Love is the doorway through which healing enters. When love is postponed, the body stays cautious. It senses conditions. It feels watched. It waits to see if it will be accepted or rejected based on performance. A body that feels evaluated does not release deeply. It stays alert even when improvement appears. I want you to notice how often you withhold kindness from yourself while you are hurting. You may encourage others gently, yet speak to yourself firmly. You may allow others to take time, yet pressure yourself to move faster. This difference matters. The body notices it immediately. Healing requires an atmosphere of acceptance. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means you stop arguing with what is present, you stop demanding that your pain justify itself, you allow it to exist without punishment. This allowance tells the body it no longer needs to defend. Many people confuse love with indulgence. They fear that if they are too accepting, nothing will change. Yet the opposite is true. Change accelerates when resistance ends. Love removes resistance. Resistance slows everything. I have seen people struggle for years, applying one method after another, without lasting change. When they finally allowed themselves to be where they were without judgment, healing deepened quickly. Not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped fighting. Others noticed the difference. These people seemed calmer, more present, less tense. Even before symptoms fully resolved, their presence changed. People trusted them more. Life felt less confrontational. Love created safety, and safety allowed release. This is how decades are saved. When you stop withholding love, you stop prolonging the process. 10 years of effort can be shortened into a season of understanding. 20 years of repeating the same lesson can dissolve once acceptance arrives. 30 years of pain can soften when love stops waiting. Love speaks a different language than effort. Effort says you must change. Love says you are welcome here. The body responds to welcome. It relaxes. It releases what it no longer needs to hold. You may notice that when you offer love first, emotions surface. Sadness, grief, tenderness. These are not setbacks. They are signs that the body feels safe enough to open. Stay with these feelings gently. They move when they are met. Many successful people reach their greatest stability not by pushing themselves harder, but by learning self-approval. They stopped threatening themselves with failure. They trusted themselves. Others felt this trust and responded with respect. Self-love is not something you must create forcefully. It is something you allow. It begins with simple permission, permission to feel, permission to rest, permission to be where you are without explanation. You may practice this by speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply care for, not with urgency, not with disappointment, but with warmth and patience. The body understands this immediately. Let us offer a few gentle affirmations that establish love as the foundation, not the reward. You might say, I accept myself as I am today, or I offer myself kindness now, or simply, I am worthy of love in this moment. These words are not meant to change anything, they are meant to allow. When love arrives first, relief follows naturally. Relief that is built on love lasts. Relief that is built on pressure fades. This is why love must come before healing completes itself. As we move forward, we will explore how living from safety instead of survival reshapes not only healing, but daily life itself. For now, let this truth settle gently. You do not heal to become lovable. You heal because you are loved. When the most important part of healing is finally honored, life begins to feel different in ways that are not dramatic, yet deeply meaningful. You may notice that you are no longer bracing yourself so often. The body does not wake each day preparing for difficulty. The mind does not scan for what might go wrong. This is because you are no longer living from survival. You are living from safety. Survival teaches the body to stay alert. It tightens the muscles. It shortens the breath. It keeps the heart guarded. Even when life is calm, survival remains watchful. Many people believe this tension is normal. They do not realize how much energy it consumes until it begins to release. Safety, on the other hand, teaches the body to rest. It allows softness. It invites ease. When safety becomes the inner state, healing no longer needs constant attention. The body continues to reorganize itself naturally without being monitored or pushed. Living from safety does not mean life becomes perfect. It means life becomes workable. Challenges no longer feel like threats to your worth or stability. They become experiences you can meet without losing yourself. This is a profound shift. You may notice that your choices begin to change. You no longer rush into situations out of fear of missing out or fear of being left behind. You wait until something feels right in your body. This waiting is not hesitation. It is wisdom. Others notice this change quickly. They may describe you as grounded, calm, or steady. They may feel more relaxed around you. They trust your presence, even if they cannot explain why. This is because people respond to safety. Safety invites cooperation. Many successful people learned to live from safety long before their success was visible. They stopped making decisions from urgency. They stopped forcing outcomes. They trusted timing. Others responded to this trust by offering opportunities, respect, and support. This is how years are saved. When you live from survival, you often choose paths that require constant effort to maintain. When you live from safety, you choose paths that support you. 10 years can be saved by not entering situations that drain you. 20 years can be softened by no longer proving yourself through struggle. 30 years can be reclaimed by choosing ease over endurance. Living from safety also changes how you relate to your body. You no longer see symptoms as enemies. You listen to them. You respond with kindness. The body responds in return by releasing what it no longer needs to hold. You may notice that rest feels different now. It is not something you earn after exhaustion. It is something you allow. This permission alone restores energy more deeply than effort ever could. Gentle repetition continues to support this way of living, not as discipline, but as nourishment. You may return to simple phrases that remind the body it is safe. Words like, I am supported, or it is safe for me to rest, or I live in ease. These are not commands. They are reminders. You do not need to repeat them constantly. You return to them when you feel yourself tightening. Repetition keeps safety familiar. Familiarity keeps healing active without attention. Others will continue to reflect this inner change back to you. Relationships feel less dramatic. Conversations feel easier. Conflict resolves more quickly. This is because you are no longer approaching life as something you must defend against. Living from safety also protects your future. When safety is your foundation, stress does not accumulate in the same way. The body recovers more quickly. Emotional challenges do not linger as long. This is how healing becomes prevention. You may still have moments when survival habits return. This is natural. Awareness allows you to notice and return gently. Returning is the practice. Each return strengthens the new pattern. I want you to trust that you do not need to watch your healing constantly. Healing knows how to continue when safety is present. Your role is not to manage it, but to live. Take a moment now to notice your breath. Notice any softness in your body. Notice the absence of urgency. This is not something you achieved. It is something you allowed. The most important part of healing was never about effort. It was about how you stayed with yourself. Now that you have learned this, healing becomes a companion rather than a task. Life responds differently to someone who is safe inside themselves. And that response will continue to unfold gently, day by day, without force. You are no longer surviving your life. You are living it. Now that we have come to this moment, I invite you to notice something simple and true. You are still here. You did not have to force yourself to arrive. Nothing needed to be pushed away for this moment to exist. This is important because it reflects the very heart of what healing has been asking of you all along. The most important part of healing was never about effort. It was about relationship, about how you stayed with yourself when things were uncomfortable, about whether you met your pain with patience or pressure, about whether your body felt welcomed or judged. When that relationship shifts, everything else begins to reorganize naturally. You may not feel dramatically different. You may not feel finished, and that is all right. Healing does not end in a grand moment of certainty. It settles in quietly, like a sense of being less at war with yourself, like a gentler breath, like a willingness to pause instead of react. Many people wait their entire lives for healing, to feel complete before allowing themselves peace. Yet peace does not arrive at the end. It arrives when struggle ends. And struggle ends when you stop demanding that your healing prove itself. You may notice now that when discomfort appears, you do not rush quite as quickly to escape it. You listen more. You stay longer. You speak to yourself more gently. These are not small changes. These are signs that safety has begun to take root. Safety changes the body in ways that effort never could. A body that feels safe does not cling. It does not brace. It does not need to stay alert. It releases what it no longer needs to hold. This release may come in waves. It may come quietly. Trust its timing. You have not failed when old feelings return. Old feelings are not enemies. They are memories looking for reassurance. When they are met with kindness, they soften. When they are rushed, they tighten. You now know the difference. Many people spend 10 years trying to heal quickly, 20 years trying to be strong, 30 years trying to be better. And then they discover that what they needed was permission to be where they were without punishment. You have begun to give yourself that permission now. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Others will feel this change in you. They may say you seem calmer, more present,